Hello everyone, I'm Vexious Violet, and this is my fan-made Minecraft update, the Flowers and Flora update. So, included within my fan-made update I'm working on here, I made a ton of concept art for different biomes, which I'm going to show you now. First biome is called the Flowering Ocean, which you can tell by looking at the concept here. It's pretty not originally named, but I figure it's pretty cool still. The basic, what this biome is about is there's a bunch of algae and moss blocks floating on the top of the ocean, as well as a whole bunch of flowers and stuff, as well as a new mob. Flying fish, which is this little dude here, which is meant to look just like a fish with some fins on him that let him leap out of the water and stuff. A bit like how dolphins do in Minecraft already, except I'm imagining the flying fish will go really high out of the water and maybe be able to glide for a little bit before it jumps back into the water. You can also scoop it up in a bucket like regular fish. In addition to the flying fish, I made a bunch of models for other things you would find in the Flowering Ocean. That includes the algae carpet here, which would generate along with clumps of moss in order to cover most of the Flowering Ocean surface. The periwinkle blossom carpet, which is, sort of supposed to be able to blend in with the algae carpet, but it's still got its own flowery thing going on. As you can see by the little, extra flowery bits that come off of it that would probably be hidden if there's another one placed next to it. This is something I did a lot with some of my models. I feel like it looks kind of nice. Also, the periwinkle blossom carpet would be able to glow faintly at night, because I think that would give it a kind of nice ambiance. And it would also be able to turn into light blue dye. When you break the periwinkle blossom carpet without silk touch, you'll get a handful of periwinkle petals, which can be used to craft the water torch, which is made out of bones and the periwinkle petals, and it will glow underwater. It won't be as bright as a normal torch, but it's still a torch you can place underwater, which would be a nice little niche thing, I think. Next up, we have the iris, which is a nice, cool looking water plant in the Minecraft universe, at least. This model also has some roots that would show underwater, though fortunately the Blockbench preview scene doesn't really let you do show that underwater because this thing is not transparent. But this is the iris, the cool little purple plant. Maybe you'd be able to get purple dye from it, which would be good because there currently aren't any plants that give you purple dye in Minecraft. Also, this would be sort of rare in the Flowering Ocean biome, I think, just because that would give it sort of a, mystique. We also have the red tails, which is another flowering plant that'll spawn on the water here. These I imagine being a bit less rare than the iris. These you probably see around the place a bit more frequently. It's got a lot of leaves and stuff near the bottom as well, so I think that looks kind of cool. Also, some roots down there that you would be able to see in normal Minecraft, but not in the Blockbench preview. And that's about it. Few extra details about the Flowering Ocean biome could be that, cod and squid could spawn in them to kind of liven the place up so it isn't just flying fish. And speaking of flying fish, I think it'd be cool if they had a behavior where they dance in the rain, like parrots dance with music. And maybe the flying fish will start dancing 5 minutes early, so you have a way of detecting rain. The second fan-made biome here is the Greenwood Grove. It's meant to be kind of a rare island biome, similar to the mushroom fields, except it's not quite as rare. Now, trees are kind of hard to show you in Blockbench, so I can show you all the parts of the trees, and then you can compare that to the concept art and imagine what it would look like. Because I would show you the tree if Blockbench allowed you to make a model big enough to be a tree. But anyways, here are the bits of the trees. So these are the leaves for the greenwood. This is the greenwood log here. So I want this to be, green wood on the inside, so it is greenwood planks, which are green, because green wood is something people have wanted for a long time, so this would be kind of a cool way to add it. And here we have the greenwood sapling, which I really like. It's almost like into a willowy look to it. Also found in the greenwood grove is this thing called the tree fruit. And this is the unripened variant, which you'll find is kind of important. These things, they generate buried under the ground, under the greenwood tree. And there's a reason they're buried, because when you eat one, it'll give you a full hunger bar, but it will cause you to have a hallucination effect for like 5 minutes. Now, this is the kind of icon I made for the potion effect, for the hallucination icon. And what the hallucination does is it makes your character see a bunch of mobs that aren't actually there. And you'll still hear like mob sound effects, and you'll see them moving around and interacting with the world, but they aren't actually there. And while your character is hallucinating, you have a chance of running into this, which I call the wolf tree, which it wouldn't have to be this is just my concept. I feel like there should be some kind of weird, scary mob that you can only see while hallucinating, because it doesn't actually exist. And this is my concept for it, the wolf tree, which is very weird looking and very spooky, and would probably have its own ambient effects that sound very creepy as well. And of course, there's one more mechanic in play here, which is that tree fruit, if it's left uncovered for 10 minutes, will oxidize and ripen into ripened tree fruit, which is this nice yellow color here. And the catch with this is it doesn't give you hallucination, but only gives you half the hunger bar from before. So there's kind of like a risk-reward thing. If you want to get a food that gives you full hunger bar, but it makes you hallucinate, or you can let it ripen and it'll give you half a hunger bar and still be pretty viable, but it won't give you the full hunger bar because you aren't getting those hallucinations and stuff. So I feel like this would be kind of a cool thing and a reason for people to go looking for the Greenwood Grove if they want to get a really good food source like this. Another thing I would think would be cool in the Greenwood Grove is that it has its own unique weather type. It only happens in the Greenwood Grove every now and again at night, and it's called the Green Aurora, which you can see in the concept art here. And what happens during this thing is that nothing can spawn during it, either like good mobs or bad mobs, which I can't remember what they're called right now. But what also happens is instead of like snowflakes coming down, you have these like green sparkles, which I have made a little concept thing here to show what they would look like in their texture. Obviously they'd be animated and they'd probably change like their light emission amount randomly so it would look like they're sparkling, which would be pretty cool, I think. And here I've also done some pixel art to show what the Green Aurora might actually look like, instead of just my concept art, which wasn't the best looking. Fortunately, that one didn't end out too well. But this is what I imagine the Green Aurora is looking like. My third fan-made biome here is the White Heart Isles, which I used the concept art and I made it an island looking right there, but I feel like it could have just as easily been a mainland biome if it's a bit bigger as well. So that would be pretty cool. And I'll just go here to show you all the tree bits again. So here we have the leaves. I like how they look. Honestly, I really like how this one turned out. It might look a little too modded for Minecraft, but I still think it's kind of nice looking. Here we have the log. Some nice colors and textures going on. A funny story for the inside of the wood. I came up with this concept before the Pale Garden was a thing, or even announced. So I thought I was being original, making white colored wood, but I apparently wasn't, so I had to kind of change the tones around. And we ended up with this sort of color, which is like a gray beige, which isn't horrible. It's kind of nice on its own. If it wasn't for the Pale Garden, this would have been a much brighter white. And we've also got the sapling here, which is kind of nice. Also, the White Heart biome will have these azure tulips, which is just a blue tulip, which I think is nice. And the White Heart biome will be the only place where you can find these, so they'll be a little rare, but not too rare, I think. They would still spawn pretty like a bunch in the White Heart Isles. Now, fan-made biomes aren't the only thing I made models for, because I also decided to make a bunch of models and little concept things for some existing biomes, which I feel like could benefit from them. First of these biomes is the jungle biome, which already has a lot of greenery and stuff already, but it's mostly trees. Like, there are cocoa beans and there's bamboo. There's also some melons around the place, but I feel like it could have a little more than this. Now, the first of these is called the mob trap, which is supposed to be kind of a carnivorous plant thing here. This thing, its whole thing is that it has some like particles around it that show it has a bad smell, and it attracts zombies to it, and the zombies get stuck in it, and it'll turn into this. It's like closed thing, and zombie will digest, and then it will spit out anything non-digestible the zombie had, like armor or something. And that's what it does. It attracts zombies and kills them. Another thing about this is, since it smells, it can attract the warden. But once the warden gets to it, it'll just destroy it and then continue what it's doing. I feel like it needs, since this thing isn't that big, something like a zombie horse would get attracted to it and get stuck in it, but it wouldn't die. So it might just get stuck in it forever. And that would be a way to like disable this. The reason I made it look like this is because it's meant to look like turtle eggs, which, if you don't know, turtle eggs can lure zombies to them, because zombies will want to go destroy them in the Minecraft behavior. So this thing like lures the zombies to come destroy the turtle egg, but instead they get eaten. So the second thing we got here is the snatcher plant, as you can see here, and its whole thing is it's another one of those plants that's going to attack you, and it'll hide around in like dark corners of the jungle, maybe caves, also maybe around jungle temples, so you can't just waltz in and loot them as you can right now. And what this does is it'll trap anything smaller than a horse. So if you are riding a horse and you go over it, you'd be fine. But if you touch this thing while you're not riding a horse, then you're going to get stuck in it with that. And if you're like on the outside of it, when you touch it, it'll probably just pull you into the center. So I feel like that makes sense. And when you're in this, you'll take periodic ticks of damage until you can break it. And it'll only drop if you have Slick Touch. Also, it's supposed to be like really flammable because it's got like mucus or something, and that's what traps you. So if you light it up with a flint and steel, it'll go up so fast it makes like a whoosh sound effect, and it'll also not set anything on fire around it. One other thing in the jungle would be the flowering vine, which is wouldn't have that much of a purpose. It would just be a very pretty flowery vine thing that you see hanging from jungle trees occasionally in the jungle biome, and there'd be 5 variants. So this is the jade variant. This would be the purple variant. This is the scarlet variant. Might look really nice with rose bushes if you want to make like a rose garden. Here we have the white variant. And here we have the gold variant. And I know some of these might be rarer than others. Like I can see maybe the gold one being kind of rare, or maybe the purple one will be kind of rare. But yeah, I think it would just be something nice to see. Especially because flowering vines are something I think people have wanted in Minecraft for a while anyways. Another biome I feel like could have a few extra things in it is the wooded badlands biome. You can see here. It's kind of a forest biome that spawns on top of badlands, plateaus like this. And at the moment, it's just a bunch of like dead grass, dead bushes, sort of dead looking trees. I feel like it could have a few extra things in here. One main idea I had was the ironbark tree, which you will see here in the concept art. And I guess I can just cut and show you the tree bits now. So these are the leaves. They're meant to look kind of small and sparse, like it's a hardy tree trying to live in this kind of inhospitable environment that is the wooded badlands. Here we have the log. You can see I went for kind of a rough texture here. I also went for a black heartwood. This is meant to look similar to ebony trees in real life. which are like super expensive, but also super cool. I know there are other mods and stuff out there that make ebony trees, but I kind of wanted to make my own take. So this is the iron bark thing that I've made, and what's special about this is it's such a tough wood that it can resist TNT and creeper blasts, but not, any explosives bigger than that. So I thought it'd be cool to have a wood like this that looks really nice here and is also resistant to a lot of explosions. That's kind of its whole thing here. I've also got the sapling, which I like. It's very nice looking. Another thing I think would be cool is the sunset camellia, which should be kind of a rare flower that spawns like, I don't know, they only find like a few per biome. So I think it'd be nice to have something kind of rare like that. And another part of this is that if you break it with shears, it'll drop not only the flower, but also some leaves and a seed. And the seed, you can plant in farmland and it'll grow, and you'll have a single flower, which you can then break again with shears to get leaves and seeds. And the leaves themselves are kind of cool, because you can craft them with water bottles and magma cream in a crafting table, and you can make sunset camellia tea, which gives you like regeneration 2 and fire resistance 2 for like 5 or 10 minutes, which I think would be cool. The next biome I feel like could have a little more in it is the flower forest, which you think it's full of flowers and stuff, but honestly, when you look at it from above, it kind of just looks like a normal forest with a little more, a few more flowers. And I guess I'm not really helping with that by adding more flowers, but I had some ideas for some cool little flowers that could be here. First one of these is celosia, which I was just looking at all the flowers in Minecraft and realized there isn't a dark pink one to use, so I figured this would be cool. This would, you find them sparsely dotted around the flower forest, and something to make them kind of cool is bees can pollinate on them twice as fast as they can other flowers. Some other things you could find in the flower forest would be the euphoria flower, which would be kind of rare, I think. These two would be kind of rare because they do slightly overpowered things. But this one would like make nearby villagers happier and convince them to lower their prices a bit. This could also work on wandering traders, I think. And also the melancholy flower, which is also sort of weird looking and be kind of rare to find in the flower forest. And this would make nearby pillagers or illagers kind of run away / not attack you. Another biome I feel like could have a little something extra is the meadow biome. And what I envision the meadow having is the butterfly bush, kind of like the firefly bush that was just added. It would just spawn every now and again in the meadow biome, and it would have these little particle effects around them that look like butterflies. I think maybe it would have like some light fluttery sounds coming off the bush. I just feel like that'd be kind of a neat little thing. Another biome I feel like could use some improvement is the windswept gravelly hills biome, and I would think you could have a gravelly fern here, which kind of looks like, an actual fern in real life. And when you break it, it'll give you a raw fiddlehead item, which if you eat will give you some, hunger and poison and stuff, because these are like poisonous or something in real life. And you can cook it to get a cooked fiddlehead item, which would be kind of like a light snack in the terms of the, hunger bars it gives you back. Next biome I think could have something else in it is the mangrove swamp. And I think it'd be cool if it had like a pink orchid here, or maybe a mangrove orchid, if you want to name it that in game. But this would just be like a cool little thing that kind of spawns rarely in the mangrove swamp. And it could spawn like growing on the roots of the mangroves, but you could still place it on any soil block, I think. Another biome I think could have a little something else is the deep dark. And that would be the warden heart. So guess what? Blockbench apparently has a preview for the deep dark, so this fits really well. But this is the warden heart. It would just be a rare flower that you can only find in the deep dark, so you have to, brave the perils of the deep dark to get this. And it would be glowing, and you could see it like beating like a heart, and you would hear a heartbeat sound coming from it. So I think it would be pretty cool. Also, I think wardens would ignore it, so they don't like explode or go and explode the flower. Another cool thing maybe would be if you're holding a warden heart flower, a warden will think you're another warden, and they won't attack you, they'll just ignore you. Yet another biome I think could have a little something in it would be the old growth birch forest. So I have to preface this by saying I came up with this before wildflowers were here. So seems like I keep predicting what Minecraft's gonna add. My idea here would be the primrose lilac. So we could have another double tall flower, and the old growth stuff could have just a unique flower, a double tall flower variant, because you usually see a lot of double tall flowers in forests. It'd be nice if the old growth birch just had its own thing, which would be like these primrose stuff that I made. I think this one looks pretty good though. Also, old growth taigas, more colloquially known as redwood biomes. They've already got a lot of stuff in them, such as, the podzol, random boulders, and mushrooms and stuff. And of course the double high trees. I feel like it'd be cool if they had a little something extra, such as the lupine, which is a type of wildflower that exists in real life. It'd be cool if you just saw a few of these dotted around the forest ground in the redwood biomes. In addition to certain biomes in the overworld that could have some different plants and things added to them, there's also a couple of dimensions in Minecraft that could do with some additions. The first of these is the Nether. In the warped forest specifically, we could have the warped blossom, which I know there's already a bunch of little bits in the warped forest. It's kind of part of its whole thing, but it would be nice if there was just like a little flower thing that spawns every now and again in a corner, and maybe it can like glow or something. That would be kind of cool. Next biome I think would be cool to have something extra in it would be the Nether Wastes biome, as you can see here. And yeah, the whole point of this biome is it's supposed to be empty, but if you look around, like, you can find mushrooms around it sometimes. Like over here, you can see mushrooms. So I feel like it'd be kind of cool if it just had a little something else that it just spawned in clumps every now and again. That something would be the wither sprouts, which are similar to nether sprouts, which are already something in the game. You can find in the warped biome, I think. These ones are a bit rare because they only spawn in like the nether wastes and maybe on the nether roof, and they only spawn in like dark little corners. And what makes these kind of special is that they have the same behavior as the wither rose, which will damage you with the wither effect when you step on it. But these ones only affect players, so they don't make the wither rose obsolete. Next biome is the basalt delta here, which, as you can see, is already pretty busy with all the different rocks and magma and everything going on. I still feel like it could have something else, and that would be the fire glow carpet, which is similar to the other blossom carpets I showed before, except this is another one, and it will only spawn in the basalt delta, and it's very fiery and stuff, like the magma blocks, so it will give you fire damage if you step on it. When you break it without soak touch, it will drop the fire glow petals, which look like this, and it'll drop a few of these, and these can be crafted into two things. The fire glow clump, which is basically just like a snowball that sets you on fire. That's all it does. It's just about that. It would also consume it when it throws, just like a normal snowball. And the fire glow petals can also be changed into fire glow dust. This one's got a different mechanic. If you put the fire glow dust on a crop that hasn't fully grown up yet, the crop will stop growing. It'll be locked at that stage. And that would be kind of a cool thing to add for builders, because then you can use all those different stages of the crop. And the last biome in the Nether is the Crimson Forest, which could have this, the Crimson Blossom, which maybe wouldn't be as rare as the Warp Blossom from before, but I still think it'd be cool to see a few patches of these, or just around the Crimson Forest. The color would look pretty nice, I think. Now, at the end is the only other dimension here, and it doesn't really have biomes, so what I was thinking of adding was a bit more specific, and that would be chorus planks, or just a wood type that looks like the chorus plants, because it would be nice to have a purple wood type. And to be fair, getting wood out of these weird things where it probably doesn't make the most sense, so maybe the crafting recipe would be chorus fruit plus a normal wood block, but it still would be cool for this to be a thing. Now, the only other thing of note you can really find in the end is the end cities. Therefore, I think it'd be kind of cool if, you're exploring in an end city and stuff, and you go into a room, and along with all the, loot and everything you can find around the place, which I can't find any right now here. Hold on. Up here, you can see loot and stuff, but it'd be cool if you could also find this. The purple pot with the mysterious sprout inside, and the pot, it can just be used as a cool decorative thing on its own, but the sprite itself can be placed on pretty much any soil type, and it won't grow or anything unless you bone meal it. Now, when you bone meal it, it isn't going to do anything unless you bone meal it on a specific soil block, and there are 3 soil blocks where it'll change into something. First one is farmland, and when you bone meal it on farmland, it becomes the void blossom. And this thing, its special effect, it might have some particle effects around it, is that within 100 blocks of it, Enderman won't steal anything. So you could put these around your base, and Enderman won't grief the place. Also, these, if you bone meal them, more will pop off, so they're renewable in that way. The second block that you can bone meal it on is Podzol. And when you do that, you end up with Ender Corn, which, exactly what it sounds like, end-themed corn. This is what it looks like, or maybe it would look like this when you bone meal it up to start with, but eventually it'll grow into this, and it'll work like sweet berries in that you can right-click it in order to get the Ender Corn ears, which you can then eat. And the third block this can be bone mealed on is mycelium, and possibly also the nylium variants, because they sort of count. But basically, when you bone meal it there, you get the plum moral, and the plum moral can be bone mealed again to make more plum morals around it if it's surrounded by mycelium blocks for them to spread to. And the plum moral can also be changed into the plum moral soup, which probably gives you a fair amount of health haunches. And also, when you drink it, you get levitation immunity, which I've made an icon here for. And basically, it just doesn't let you get levitation from shulker blocks for like 10 minutes. Now, there are a few more features I thought up that don't have anything to do with specific biomes. First of these ideas is to add a new villager type to Minecraft called the Florist Villager. And this is what it would look like. So I feel like it could be cool if the shirt had a few different color variations. So we've got green here, we've got blue, there's a pink one, 'cause that's nice, and there's also a yellow. And this is basically just what I did for a very simple looking villager. It's got like an apron with like some tools in there, and it's got a hat with flowers around it, which I think is nice. And this is the flour mill, which would be the villager workstation. And this would also be a block usable by the player as well. And basically what it does is you put flowers into it, and if it's a multicolored flower, it'll give you multiple types of dyes. But if it's a flower with only one color, then it just gives you more of the one dye that that flower would have already given you. What I have is the swamp tree sapling, which is just an oak tree, but you walk up to it and you right-click it with a lily pad, or maybe you craft it with the lily pad in your inventory, and you end up with a swamp tree sapling, which just gives you the oak swamp tree, like what you would see in an actual swamp, just like these. Another one is the sun lily, which would be this like super rare flower that spawns in any overworld biome with grass. And basically it's super rare, so you can only find a few, probably like for thousands of blocks, maybe even less than that. And this one will like glow faintly at night, so it's got like a sun thing going on. And also, if you step on it, it will heal 1 tick of health, kind of the reverse of a wither rose. And another little cool thing about it would be if maybe a bee that's lost its stinger hangs on this for like a minute, then the stinger will regrow and the bee won't die. Next thing is the kelp blossom, which will occasionally generate on top of any kelp stalks, as you can see out there in the preview. It'll generate on top of any kelp stalk that has gone up right to the surface, and it'll actually generate right above the water. So it'll be cool. Just a cool little thing. It doesn't really do anything. I also made an item model for it. Another thing is mistletoe, which is just a cool little thing that you can find occasionally under the leaves on tall trees in spruce taiga biomes or snow taiga biomes. And when you hang you can first of all you can hang it on a wall for decoration. When you hang it on a roof, it'll create little particle effects, shiny particle effects, and it'll make any nearby villagers not need as much food in order to breed. This is the sour berry bush, just another thing I've made here, and it only spawns in the redwood biome and also the shattered savanna biome. And basically it's like a double tall sweet berry bush, but when you step in it, it will give you poison damage instead of just the normal thorn damage. Also, if you eat the berries, it will also give you some poison damage. But there's something else that can eat the berries, and that is the jackalope, which is a very rare little mob that only spawns in the redwood biome and the shattered savanna biome. It would be a pretty rare spawn, and you can breed them with the sour berries item. Now that was pretty much just all of the features that I came up with for this fan-made update. However, there are a few more that I thought up of and made models for that I still want to show, even though they might not quite fit. First of these is the bamboo item frame. It probably wouldn't serve that much of a purpose other than just being an alternative item frame, but I still think it'd be kind of cool. Next one is the amethyst tulip, which would spawn in the grove, meadow, and old growth birch forest biomes. And basically the whole thing with this is you hold it and you left click with it and it'll vibrate. And it vibrates stronger depending on if there's an amethyst geode near you. So you could use this down in caves to suss out where amethyst geodes are. Third one here is the lightning lavender, which when a lightning rod is struck by lightning in a storm, it has a 1 in 3 chance to spawn a lightning lavender around it if there are viable grass blocks. And the lightning lavender would have kind of some electric spark particles coming off of it, and it would also be fireproof. Maybe it would have some sound effects that sound kind of crackly as well. I feel like it'd just be a cool little thing. Another one would be the blink bloom, which is this double tall flower that spawns rarely in pretty much any overworld biome. And its whole thing is that if you come within simulation distance of it, every 10 minutes or so, it teleports. The actual flower teleports, and it could make a really cool sound effect, kind of like the Enderman sound effect, except it's kind of echoing and twinkly sounding. I think that would be cool. It would probably also have some sparkly particle effects, and you could probably also put it in a flower pot and it wouldn't teleport. And lastly, we have the nether rose. And I haven't really thought out what this would be, other than just a really rare flower that spawns in pretty much any nether biome with netherrack in it. And it would just be really rare and kind of a cool little thing you can go find. It's also supposed to be kind of a nod to the old blue roses that used to be in Minecraft a really long time ago. So that's it for the fan-made Flowers and Flora update. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly plan to be making more of these.